Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and in this edition we are going to look at the Goko White or Shitogami #1 Bunka 170mm knife. So this has a multi-layer construction on either side of that harder core steel, which is Shitogami White Paper #1 reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi at around a 60-61 Rockwell hardness. You've got softer stainless cladding for lower maintenance, and that stainless cladding has what's known as a nishiji or pear skin kind of mottled finish to it. So it looks like that does wrap around the spine, so the only real worry you have as far as reactivity is that core steel showing at the edge, and I'll give you a close-up look at it as we go along in the video. These are hammered, hand hammered and finished artisan style knives, so they're going to vary a little bit from knife to knife in the dimensions and weights. This particular one is 138 grams or 4.9 ounces. Edge length about 172 millimeters or 6.8 ounces. And the overall length's about 322 millimeters. Blade height is pretty generous. It's 49.5, so these generally fairly tall blades. And then the spine thickness is coming out of the handle above the chin here is about 3.3 millimeters, and then I measured about halfway down, it's about 1.8. And given pretty standard for this style of blade, it pretty much maintains that thickness all the way till you make the corner here, the turn, and the reverse sword tip, and then as you get down towards the tip, you'll see the grind kick in, and then it gets pretty thin at the very, very tip. So the handle on these is an octagonal walnut with a black packawood ferrule. Nice fit and finish on the handle, smooth throughout. They've got a pretty tight handle install, but you do have a little bit of a kind of a drill mark that's in on either side. So I'd be filling this with something to keep moisture out of there if I had this knife. The let's see, the blade itself, balance point is right about there. So the handle's fairly light. Blade has a little bit of mass to it, so that brings your balance point. For me, it's just a touch behind my pinch grip. Just a touch. So very light, kind of nimble, neutral feel to it with that balance point. Handle circumference is about 74-ish or 2.9 inches, 74 millimeters, 2.9 inches right here where the ferrule meets the wood. So pretty standard size for this type of knife. You've got kind of a fairly sharp transition from the spine into, or I should say the choil into the handle, into the neck there. So there is a little bit of room for a pinch right there. Fairly narrow neck, so you've got loads and loads, and the handle's not huge, so loads and loads of board clearance on this thing. Let's take a look at the overall blade. These tend to be just a little more rustic than, let's say, the Masakage Yuki line. They've got a lot of character to them. The grinds are excellent on this line of knives. They've always been good performing blades. All the ones I've tried have had great grinds on them. Sometimes you'll get a slight anomaly. This, no big deal. This one has a little, I don't know if it's a little chip or something on the cladding. Shouldn't affect, it's not very deep. It wouldn't affect anything. But you can kind of see what the style is. So it's a rustic kind of nishiji finish on it. There is some hand chiseled kanji. A little beauty shot here. There we go. And if you look carefully, there is a cladding line. See if we can get it to show up. Yeah, there you go. There's your cladding line, the core steel. So that core steel will patina on you as you use the knife and take on a nice shade depending on what you're cutting. Out of the box edge, a pretty good 6 out of 10. But this steel is ridiculously easy to sharpen. It's not super hard, so there's some forgiveness there. And it also makes it, like I said, stupid easy to sharpen. This will make you feel like an absolute champ on the sharpening stones because it just responds so well to stropping, sharpening, touch-ups. It's just awesome stuff. So there's almost nothing that sharpens more easily than a good Shitogami #1. Which this is. The profile is pretty darn flat, as you can see. Fit and finish, really, they've polished the spine a bit. They've relieved the choil a little bit, so it's comfortable. Like I said, they're a little on the rustic side, but they have a lot of character to them as well. These are a good value proposition line of knives. So this one's pretty darn flat. You can see how low the tip is, and there's not a ton of belly to this whole thing. So it's going to be a good chopper style knife. It's got just a little bit of belly to it, not much. Kind of almost a Nakiri profile in a way. But very, you can see how low that tip is in relation to the knife. So that means I'm not going to rock with this a whole lot. I mean, I'm kind of surprised. The tip, they've raised the very tip just a little bit. So I can get about up there, but you're not going to be doing this with this thing. But it's not a whole, huge long knife either. So you can do push-pulls, low rocking, lots of chopping with this thing. Performance is really very good on this. It flows organically through stuff. It has predictable cutting progress. It works well through hard product as well. Soft product is really good on onions and such. It's just a good all-around grind, and the performance is very good. So if you're looking for a high-value line of knives with a lot of character, with super easy to sharpen steel, low-maintenance stainless cladding, this is a really well-respected line of knives that's been around Chef Knives to Go for quite a while, and that's for good reason. So this is the Goko Shitogami No. 1 Bunka 170mm knife.